10 USA. I'm here tonight, actually a Wednesday night with my buddy and best friend from the East Coast, Mike. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm good.
How's the weather out there in Maryland?
About 50, so it's not too bad.
Not bad, not bad. That's
Cold
about what we
humid.
have here.
Oh yeah.
But the
Well,
rain has stopped, which
oh
we're
good.
super happy about that.
Yeah, we
Um,
had about half inch of snow last week, and it was gone by the about noon the next day.
we'll be getting it. I think it's coming back this weekend. So we'll have some more rain coming our way. So no excuse for Californians to think that there's no water. The government telling us there's no water because there's plenty of water right now.
Yeah,
So
plenty of saturation for the ground, so hopefully there won't be any fires this summer.
yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. Let's hope. But it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Um, I want to jump into this. They always talk about how elections, when it's a presidential elections, the voters come out in droves.
Right.
But I went to a meeting. But I went to a church meeting. I believe it was last Saturday. I can't even keep track. And they were doing something that was really, I thought it was a great thing to do, where they were bringing in people from their church to come in to explain, the ballots if they didn't understand something. And they asked me to speak, and I got to speak to the people and just kind of explaining simple things like a lot of people were wondering how come certain candidates had candidate statements in their ballots. And I explained to them, well, in California, and I just speak for California, you have to be able to afford that statement. So that statement is paid by the candidate anywhere from, I think it's anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 for
Oh,
for a paragraph, right, on the ballot itself, on the book. And I said, and you have to understand that's the candidate talking about himself or herself. That's not a third party describing the candidate. I mean, it's the candidate himself saying, "Hey, um, this is who I am. Vote for me because I'm amazing. I'm wonderful." And a lot of people didn't know that, which was interesting to me. The other thing that a lot of people were confused about, especially in California, is in California, it's the top two candidates, regardless of party,
right.
right? Some of them believe that the Republicans just vote for Republicans and Democrats just vote for Democrats, and then those two meet, and for November.
Right.
Um, so that was interesting to know that some people really don't know that they still think that it's the way it's always been in the rest of the nation.
They can,
Um,
yeah, that's the way it is in my state.
so I mean, it was good. And then the pastor was talking about the registered voters in that city, and there's approximately 73,000 voters registered in that city. And this was as of last week, only 127 people have voted.
Wow.
That is a horrible number. Now I don't know if they're waiting for the last minute, but the
Is this
ballot have been out
that,
since the 5th of February here.
that's early voting, I guess?
Uh, that's crazy, but only 120 something out of 73,000 people. It's a scary number.
Yeah.
Scary number.
We have
Um,
ours like May 2nd to May 8th is like early voting. And then I guess there's the actual day.
well,
So,
well, as you know, maybe you don't know, but in California, it's mail-in ballots, so that everybody got their ballots around the 5th of February.
huh.
So that's a sad number, and you don't have to pay for postage. It's postage free. To me, it was a scary number at
Yeah,
that
that's
point.
that's very, very low.
Um, are people waiting to vote for the general election? Maybe that could be the possibility. Um, but there's a lot of people that need help from the voters, right? I mean, if you don't vote, you can't say anything, you can't complain, you can't.
Right.
Um, I was doing the interview last night with the Armenian TV station. The host was the former mayor of Glendale, and just to prove a point how important every vote is, he lost by 100 votes the last election.
Wow.
100 votes. So when people start talking about their vote doesn't matter, it does matter if you think about it, because maybe those 100 people that could have voted didn't vote because they didn't think they could make a difference, and the guy they wanted in office lost because they didn't vote. Right.
Right.
So we keep electing the same people over and over and over, um, and then we expect things to change or to get better, which in California it doesn't seem to be working out that way.
Right.
Which is kind of sad when you think about it. We have people complaining about law enforcement. We don't have enough of it. We have people complaining that the economy is horrible. Um, the Hispanic community is complaining about the price of food, right? The price of rent, right? Um, but yet we keep electing the same people that put us in this position and expect them to get us out, right, of this situation, which I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
Um, I saw a clip of Newsom. He promised to fix the homeless issue about 20 years ago in San Francisco for San Francisco,
Yeah.
right? He promised to do it in 10 years, which I get. It takes time to fix it. But here we are in 20 years and we're still pouring in more money, more money, more money.
Right.
Um, we've spent about $30 billion in California, and yet we have not made a dent on the homeless population. Right? Just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, and one of the questions that was asked of me last night was, what are my thoughts on the homeless issue? How are we going to be able to fix it? Um, and I was pretty candid. I said, look, we can't fix it right now. We have to figure out where all the money is going,
Right.
who's spending the money before we allocate any more money to try to fix the problem. Because if we keep allocating money to the same groups that are supposedly helping us now, well, they're not helping us now.
They're
So why
putting
would I give them more money until I have a good idea where that money went?
right.
Right. And so when I hear people running for office promising what they're going to fix, well, first of all, you got to figure out what's wrong with it first, with the program, right? Before you fix it. We already know that some people want to be homeless. We know that some are homeless because of drugs and alcohol. And then we know some are homeless because of mental issues, right?
Exactly.
They have, so we need to figure out who fits in what category so that we can help everybody, right? We can't have a across the board solution when you have different issues why people are homeless, right?
Right.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Um, and I think sometimes the public just expects things to get fixed right away, right? We just found out our I think we have a $63 million deficit in California. 2 years ago, we had 68 million, in our pockets that we
Huh.
had extra money. What's happened? Well, we know what's happened. People are giving money away to illegal aliens, or I'm sorry, illegal immigrants. Excuse me. Um, they're not taking care of our own. Well, I don't know if you saw the debate last night with Steve Garvey. Um, we're just a total mess in California. Just total
Yeah.
mess. And I don't know how anybody in this country would want to mimic what's happening in our state right now.
Oh, I'm sure we're trying.
It,
I mean,
it,
we had a surplus of money when Governor Hogan left. We got a new governor in, and he comes out and he's like, "Oh, let's put this little dock out by this waterfront." And he does this all over, and all of a sudden it's like, we can't fix the roads. We don't have enough money. Hello, you got to take care of the important things first, not
well,
the supplemental,
and it's funny you say that, priorities, right?
right?
We need to be able to prioritize what's truly important right now, right? What's kind of like what you do at home with your family, right? Before you go on a lavish vacation, you're going to figure, you want to know what's really important, what you need to take care of to now before you go on your vacation, right? Because you don't want to
Exactly.
go on vacation and then come back to a bigger problem. And I think that's part of the problem with the government, since it's not their money. Um, and I love how they refer to their budget, government funding, right?
Government funding,
I don't
taxpayer
know
funding.
where that who came up with that one, but it's not government funding; it's taxpayer funding, right?
Exactly.
So people need to check people and say, hey, wait a minute, that's our money. We need some transparency on where it's going and
Right.
why it's going there, right? If we're going to keep giving money to Ukraine, well, then we need to come up with a sensible plan, that can benefit the United States, not
Right.
just the Ukraine. Um, and I know that we pride ourselves on being a great example for the rest of the world, but we need to take care of our own people first before we start trying to take care of everybody else. Um,
I read today that Sweden was actually donating more money than anybody so far for the Ukraine issue. I guess they're trying to get into NATO, so they're trying to show some support on that end. And I was kind of surprised, going, really, Sweden? What about France and Germany and everybody else over there? What are they doing? Because they could end up in their backyard in a minute.
well, some of those people, they all have ulterior motives for what they do, right? Kind of like anybody in general, right? I mean, everybody is me first, and we're forgetting what's truly important, when it comes to our daily lives, right? We all want to live comfortably. We all want to make sure that we have enough food in the fridge, enough money to buy gas for our vehicles,
Right.
enough to do whatever we enjoy doing, and not have to stress like we do nowadays, right? I mean, think about what's happened in the last 3 years, right?
Right.
I mean, it's been a total mess, and it's not about the D and the R, and I'll tell you why I say that. Um, People just get caught up on those letters, and they need to stop that. That needs to end. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who is a Democrat. The whole family's a Democrat. Um, After the interview last night, and I'm sitting there with them. They're Armenians, and but they're conservative Democrats, and
Okay.
they're not about what's happening. They have concerns what's happening to their kids in school. They have concerns about the economy. Um, they actually talked about the same thing you and I and Will and Al talk a lot about is figure out who the best person for the job is,
Exactly.
vote for that person, right? Because we're not all going to agree on everything, right? We're just not. It's just human nature, right? I'm not going to agree on certain things when it comes to religion. I'm not going to agree on certain things when it comes to abortion, right? So we're not all going to agree on everything, but we have some common causes that we can all agree on, right?
Of course.
We all want to be safe. We all want to have food on the table. We all want to be able to live our life the way we want, right? We definitely have lost our way with the government, allowing them to become so big and powerful that the Constitution means nothing to any of them, right? It means nothing to any of these guys. I don't care what party you are. There, most of them don't care about the Constitution, right? And and we're letting people that we know are bad people. Well, let me rephrase that. We know they're not good leaders, and
right.
we're allowing them to continue to lead, right? Not that they're bad; they might be great people, but they're just horrible leaders, horrible
Yeah.
decision makers,
And the
um,
only time you're going to see them is around election time.
or a Fourth of July parade or a Christmas parade that they get invited
Right.
um, to come shake hands and act like they care, right? We we just do a poor job of, and I blame the parties for that, right? And I say that because, and I'll speak for the Republican Party because I'm not a Democrat, but in California, the committees do a horrible job of recruiting candidates. They
Yeah.
don't go out and try to find good people that may or may not want to run, but at least let's bring them in and talk to them and see if they're interested in running, right? We need to not hire, recruit these younger people so that the older generation can move on,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
I was an Army recruiter for a long time. We recruited people to take our place, right?
Yep.
You find a young person that's interested, you have them join the military, you coach and mentor them so they take over your position so you can move on to bigger and better things or retire or just get out of the military. In companies, we pretty much do that, right? Companies hire people to coach and mentor, to move through the process, to hire from within for leadership positions. But in government, we don't. We keep hiring the Adam Schiffs of the world, right?
Right. Or the Mitch McConnells.
Right. I mean, people that shouldn't be in office, right? I can't even remember the last time Adam Schiff did anything for anyone except himself.
Right.
Um, so it's just crazy to me. And going through this process of running for office, I've met some fantastic people, right? There's a specific candidate running for a certain district, and I'm not going to mention any names. Um, she is a great candidate. Nobody was running for that position from the Republican side.
Hmm.
Then at the last minute, they decide that the Republicans are going to support somebody else. Um, why I don't know. Right? I know they talk about better chances of winning and all that nonsense, um, but you have to choose the person with the right moral compass
Right.
that's doing it for the right reasons.
They
It
look at
can't be
it. They look at demographics, and the demographics don't always match up. So you're out, and we're going to bring this one in. Why?
well, and that's my point. Identity politics. Why do we need that? We keep
Right.
talking about the far left dividing us by race, by religion, and all this nonsense. But we do the same thing with identity politics.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if my area is predominantly African American. I might be a better candidate than the African American running against me,
Exactly. Or
right?
he may
So
be a better one than you.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
just because I live in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood doesn't mean that I'm going to be a better candidate than somebody who's not Hispanic,
Right.
right? And I think we get caught up with that nonsense or male or female nonsense instead of, okay, look, this person came forward. Let's support this person as much as we can. The other one's jumping on the bandwagon, at the last minute. Let's support this one candidate and let's go run with it and see where it takes us. Right. And that's what we lack. I think common sense within our own party that we just don't do things the right way, and we don't mentor people the right way. We don't try to help people the right way. Um, we do things that sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. As you know, the party and I bump heads a lot because I am not a typical Republican in their head. Um,
Right.
I'm kind of a moderate Republican. There's some things that I know that I can't change, and I'm not going to pretend that I can change. And then some people get mad at me because I'm like, I can't solve that. I said I can lie to you and tell you I'm going to do something, but I can't, right? And it's usually around abortion.
Of
When you're
course.
reaching out to people outside of the Republican Party, or even in the Republican Party, there's some things we can't change right away. So my personal opinion, I'll give you that if you want it. But my professional opinion is until we elect people with the same frame of mind, you can't change that in California. You just
Right.
can't. It is in our constitution. So I'm against it personally, but we can't change it until you vote in people that are like-minded individuals
And a
that can
lot of people
fight.
are hard headed because I was reading something where somebody says, "Oh, Donald Trump got rid of Roe v. Wade,"
Yeah,
my statement back to them is, "Oh, did he get put on the Supreme Court?" I said he didn't do anything with it. They did because it's not in the good book. I says it is not in here. So they have states' rights. Let the states handle it, and that's what
well,
California and Maryland are doing.
it's funny that you bring that up because I remember when it was overturned. everybody started talking about you're trying to take women's rights away, and that's not what that bill was about. It
Right.
was about power back to the states, right? That's all it was. The states should have control of that. I'm I'm really surprised that people want the federal government involved in their life as much as they do, right? When when our forefathers wrote the Constitution, it was to limit the power of government.
Exactly.
It wasn't to give them this power they have today, and I think people forget that that that's why the Constitution was written, so that government wouldn't go do what they're doing today, and go crazy trying to dictate all the policies to us. You know, today I read something that I didn't know. It was about George Washington, right? His going away speech, when he left, right? And and I'm going to give you a quote from his going away speech, his departure speech, what he was talking about. Um, he said, "What party do you want to register in?" And he said, "I ain't in no political party."
Right.
And that tells you everything. He even knew then that when you start dividing people by political parties, we were going to be in trouble, right? And he gave that in his speech when he walked away from the presidency. Um, Political parties, it's kind of like a group, right? Everybody wants to do what's in their best interest, but not in what's in the people's best interest. And and,
Exactly.
and that's the part that's disheartening. Um, and even watching some candidates run, that I thought in the beginning, hey, you know what? No, this person is going to do a good job. Once you start seeing them in action, you're like, oh, okay, you're full of crap, right?
I
You
mean,
truly don't care.
when you look at a particular female first lady, I won't mention her name, but they had thought we're going to remove Biden and put this person maybe on the ticket to run. And my mind goes back to the days when her husband was the president, and she would say, "All this for a flag," and that hits you right here because you know you want to do something, strap on a badge and tie up a gun or get your butt out in the field and show us what you're about.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened,
We I think sometimes we put a lot of trust in people,
right?
and we get sucked in, right? Into something that, we shouldn't be sucked into. And I go back to like the division of people, how the Democrats did a great job doing it. But if you think about it, partisanship does that. It divides people, right?
Right,
And it divides people in a way that nobody wants to budge. Nobody wants to reach over and shake your hand, um, for whatever reason, right? Uh, Kind of like you in law enforcement, everybody that wore that uniform was protected each other,
right,
right?
exactly.
In the army, we did the same thing, and we were all one. But once you get out of that environment, all of a sudden, you know, people start going their separate ways, and the ideology becomes somebody else's, not their own anymore, right? Well, you're a Republican, so you must be rich, and you must hate your own kind, and blah blah blah, which
Right.
is not true, right? That's
That's what my mother used to tell me. I mean, I started off as a Democrat because my parents were Democrats. And then when I said I was switching to the Republicans, she said, "That's the party of the rich." And
yeah.
I'm like, and the thing that helped me through that was that show with Michael J. Fox, Growing Pains, I think
I
it was.
remember that. I
And when I
remember, yeah.
watched that show, I could relate to his values and I understood a little better. So,
Well,
yeah,
you have to. I always say you sometimes you have to put on your big boy or big girl pants on,
right,
and go through the minutia to figure out what's right and what's not right. Right. Um, you know, People will give their opinions online. They'll tell you anything. um, kind of like what's going on, in our public education systems, in our school districts. Um, the solution is working together, right? That's really the solution. We have to find common ground so that we can move forward from all the negativity. Until we do, things will be the same, right?
And that includes the parents being involved, and the teachers and the administrators. Not so much the unions, because they don't go out and teach people; they just manage the other things.
Right. But in California, it might be a little bit different because the unions, they kind of dictate what is being taught in our school systems, right? Because they provide money to the current leadership, and they make up the policy. So, um, and that's why I'm not a big fan of unions in the school system.
Right? Me neither.
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should have people that can influence, for example, the governor of California with money, to change certain policies, or to pass bills that criminalizes parents because we don't want to affirm our kids' sexuality, that they they put a spin on it and they confuse those kids,
Oh yeah,
right? And so, God forbid, a parent is against that. You're calling extremists, a bigot, homophobic, um, all kinds of names, right? I mean, if you don't agree with your next door neighbor, you're bad, right? Instead of just saying, "Hey, we don't have to agree on everything, but hey, how I like your yard," or we go to the same restaurants.
right.
We have things in common that we can talk about besides the nonsense that happens in the world today, and that's the discouraging part, that we as a people have allowed the government to do all these things to us.
I got a neighbor like that now, but they the person was a child, and he grew up and he went his own way. But every time he sees me, we still say hi to each other. I mean, I don't care what you think you are or anything else. We're still friendly towards each other, and that's the way
Right.
it's got to be.
Well, I'm all for that. I can't understand why people get so mad, um, at people in general because they don't agree with you or you don't agree with them. Um, we don't have to agree with everything, right?
Right? Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure you didn't agree with your commander or your captain sometimes when he gave his nonsense speeches. I know there was many times that when my commander spoke to me, I'm like, the old man's whack. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No,
He's
right.
lost reality,
And what
right?
is the biggest thing you hated when you were in the army? Change. Because
Hmm.
you were used to doing things one way, and somebody comes in and they try to throw a wrench into what you're doing by maybe giving a new policy. For example, in-car cameras. When those first came out, we were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get in trouble. This is terrible." Well, you're not going to get in trouble if you're doing your job right, and it worked out, and it can save your butt.
Yep. No,
So,
and you're right. And you're right. We get a new commander, and we would go to different units every 2 to 4 years, right? So
right,
you're going to have a new commander often, throughout your career. And there's some that you would serve with again, and there's some that you wouldn't serve with again. And I'm sure they felt the same way when they left certain units. I don't want to serve in that kind of unit again. These guys they don't want to follow directions. But I think in society we've condoned the behavior of the government separating us at everything, right?
right,
Whether it was COVID, whether it's race, whether it's lies about they're bigots or homophobics. I mean, I was called a homophobic because I said parents should have rights for all kids,
for all kids.
right?
Right, sure,
The superintendent of school took that me saying that only kids that were heterosexual, and I had to correct her. Like, I didn't say anything about LGBTQT. You're the one bringing that up.
right,
Why are you bringing? All I said was all kids. That encompasses everyone, just like the Constitution. It says we the people. It doesn't say we the African Americans, we the Puerto Ricans, we the white. It says we the people. That
right.
includes everybody, right?
That's right.
And people have a tendency to twist that around in their favor to get,
That's
I
the
don't know.
identity politics.
Yeah, and
Their identity,
I
not
can't even
everybody.
can't even stand that. It just drives me nuts that people that I thought were intelligent and articulate, I've learned that they're not so intelligent, that they buy into the madness and don't
Right,
look at the facts, right? And that
right.
bugs me. Kind of like J Sixers. Um, I went to an event last Saturday night for a J Sixer that was released from jail, right? And I'm going to try to get him on the show, but listening to his story, it goes to show you how we have a horrible DOJ, a
Yep.
horrible system. If what he said really happened in that courtroom, we need to wake up
Oh, yeah.
because the things he was saying, he had witnesses on his behalf. The judge would kick the witnesses out based on what he was saying. No rights whatsoever. Every right that we expect in a court of law was violated. And I don't know what rule they used to violate those rights. Who knows? But listening to his story was really depressing. Um,
Right. I was talking to our friend Steamboat Willie tonight,
oh,
and who is watching and listening, and I was talking to him about uh, Trump's fine that they want to charge him in New York City,
yeah,
$400 million. And I said, this will be beaten in the Court of Appeals just on the Constitution, because the Eighth Amendment tells you that excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines be imposed. And when you tell somebody, you got to pay $400 million for an alleged issue with no victims, it's done.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I think, we all know, I mean, whether you're a Trump fan or not, kind of like I saw the report today that his campaign has spent more money than they have, right, on just legal fees. Um, so what the plan is pretty obvious, right? They're
oh
trying
yeah,
to push him completely out, um, and have somebody like, I guess, Nikki Haley, who is was in California recently, um, campaigning here, trying to get more money. Um, they're just trying to get him out, whether you like Trump or not. That's really what they're doing, right?
yeah.
They're trying to figure a way of whether disqualifying him or making it so hard for him to run that they hope he quits and bows out.
He's like our Teflon Don.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't know if you saw, I posted the people he was considering for VP that he actually said their names.
Oh, I've heard a bunch of them throughout like the last week, but there's a few that are consistent. There's a few more he adds in there, but he's not really saying yet.
Well, I think today he said there's four. Um, he said Christy Nome, of course, Tulsi,
Right.
Vivek, and DeSantis are the four he mentioned today. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. That would shock the crap out of me if he did that with DeSantis. Um,
Oh yeah.
but with Trump, there's a reason for his madness. So
Yeah.
uh, nothing would surprise me.
And I've heard Tim Scott in the past,
Yeah, I heard Tim Scott a couple
and I've
weeks ago
heard
too.
Elise Stefanik. So
I haven't
there's
heard
always,
that one.
yeah, the list kind of keeps growing to keep people guessing.
Well, I mean, he could do that, right? Because it doesn't really matter. But back to what I was talking about, the money he's spending. He's lost about 200,000 donors, right? They don't know why yet. Um, and to me, that's kind of a sign that people are just tired of not necessarily Trump, but giving money for legal fees instead of his campaign. Because people, I mean, there's so much abuse people can take financially in today's world anyway.
Right.
So it's just a scary thought that that's happening, especially to him right now. Um, we know he's going to win South Carolina. We know that.
Right.
Um, we know he's going to have. I mean, he's not going to win California, but that's nobody wins California if you're not a Democrat.
Right. He'll win Texas and Florida.
Yeah,
He
I'm
won't
not.
win. He won't win Maryland.
Maryland's becoming California. That's because Adam Schiff moved there.
Yeah, because he lives in Potomac.
Adam Shifty Schiff. So, though, it's funny that everybody has their ideology, but they don't want to share it with anybody, right? Because they don't want to trigger people, right?
Yeah.
My favorite word nowadays, trigger, right? Um, whatever happened to just having a conversation and not taking things personal? Because I'm not a Christian, I am a Catholic, or I'm a Jew, or you know what I mean. If you're not a certain particular thing that they approve of, then they get triggered and they go crazy and they talk about you um, being a bigot or being a racist or giving up on your own kind. As I've heard that a few times,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Right. Oh, you've given up on your people. I'm like, my people. I don't know. I
You
was born in New York.
you were all my people.
I was born in New York. Lived in Puerto Rico for a while. Came to California. I've been here most of my life. So my people are here in California, right?
You were actually born in New York,
Yes, Brooklyn.
and I was born in Plattsburgh.
there, there's hope. And I was talking to a young man last night after the interview, young kid, maybe 20, 21. And I was talking about actually recruiting young people. And he says, when do you think we'll see a turn in what's happening in today's world? I said, well, I won't see it in my lifetime. I'm hoping that if I can recruit people like you, we'll see it. We'll see some changes starting soon, but
Right.
the complete change to back to what I call normal life, it's going to take a few years to get there. Um,
Yeah.
but we need young people to help us get there. I said,
Right.
you young people can't depend on us old people um, to make it happen. It has to come from you. We need your help to do it. And I'm not asking you to to change all your ideologies or your ideas, but I'm asking young people to focus on what's the most important thing that we can do for the American people or the people of California, and that's do what's in their best interest, not what's in my best interest or
And
some
it
politician's best
and it's
interest.
funny as you get older, you kind of start realizing more of it. So the younger you are, the more you should start opening your eyes. I got a insurance policy that just went up $600 a year for home insurance. And they put on there the reason this happened was because of inflation and construction equipment pricing. You used to be able to go out and buy a piece of plywood for 10 or 20 bucks, and now it's 40 or 50 bucks.
Hmm.
So they had to go up too. So, of course, what do we say? Well, pass the savings on to you.
Well, and it's funny you say that because when I talk about inflation, I just break it down to bread in my area, right? You can't find a loaf of bread in my area for less than $4, right?
Right?
And that's in 2 years has gone up to four. And sometimes I've paid $5.99 for a loaf of bread because we just can't find it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's the cost of what's happened. I think people got super excited with the so-called free money that they got that they didn't realize what that would do to the economy,
Oh, yeah.
right? It kind of you print money, you dump it into the economy, it becomes worthless. It becomes
Right.
worthless, right? And people don't gather that. They were just happy they were getting $600 or 1,200, whatever they were getting for COVID, um, or in California, the unemployment scam that even convicts, people in jail were getting unemployment, right?
So,
So I don't think people realize the cause and effect of things. Sometimes I think they're super excited they have money, but they don't realize that that money has to come from somewhere, right? And if you're just printing free money because you can't really tax people more, it just hurts the economy even more, right? And kind of like where we're at today with the economy. And then you got crazy people like Barbara Lee wanting to raise minimum wage to $50 an hour in California,
Yeah, she's done
and
with the open mouth.
that's her solution to the high cost of living. Well, lady, let me just tell you, Miss Lee, that by making it $50 an hour, everybody's going to raise their prices on everything. So it's
Right.
really not going to help the economy at all.
We can get that $49 Big Mac.
Hey, I used the number seven combo at McDonald's 2 years ago. It was $6.98. Now
Yep.
it's 10 something.
Yep.
Uh, so and that's 2 years, 2 years into it.
And they
So
and they've got rid of some of their employees to put the kiosks in
yeah.
there. So people
Well,
losing jobs.
and again, in California, minimum wage for McDonald workers $20 an hour. So,
Wow.
all right, and I can't even pay a construction worker 18 an hour. Figure that one out.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So it just we get caught up on nonsense and things that really aren't important instead of what's really important, right? And I think to me, the perfect person to run for office is somebody who has worked for a living, knows how to balance a checkbook,
Right.
knows how to monitor their money, their finances, and has the common sense approach to things that we're missing out on, right? If it doesn't make sense, let's not do it, right? If
And
we're
I
spending all this money on homeless and it's not getting fixed, well, let's stop and let's find out why it's not working before we keep spending more money, before
right.
we keep adding things to the economy, right? Or a service fee instead of a tax, right?
I mean, you look at it, most of it all stems from energy
Right.
because, I'm sure your gas prices are now going up in California. Mine have went up 30 or 40 cents in the last week, and that affects the supply chain. And then when the supply chain doesn't gets the food to your grocery store and they say we need this much because of diesel fuel, we're going to pass the savings on to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, that's where it stems from. So drill, baby, drill.
It's funny because California, we have so much oil, so
Oh,
much gas, right? That we can be pumping to help the economy, and we just don't. We get wrapped around on you know global warming or kind of
some
like what's happening in Pacoima with the airport. We need to close the airport down. Um, little
some
things
dumb
like that
thing.
instead of let's figure an intelligent way to work things out. I get that at some point electric cars are a viable option, but let's have an infrastructure where we can do that first, right?
Sure.
Let's not. And this infrastructure that Mr. Biden has been throwing money at solar companies and these companies, half those companies have gone bankrupt.
Oh yeah.
They're
I
going
mean,
bankrupt. So why are we giving them money if they're going bankrupt?
and they were
Why are
going to
we
start
wasting
wind.
money?
They were going to start another wind farm type out here, but the company that was going to do it said we have to back out. We can't do it. So, because I don't know whether it was their finances or what it was, but you know, well, that happens. I mean, California, I know what is that? The Grapevine area's got all the windmills.
Right. Not the grapevine going towards Palm Springs.
Yeah, and I've
And,
seen a whole bunch of them.
and most of them don't work.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
we
don't
and
work.
we got ours out in the Atlantic Ocean between probably New Jersey and here, and they're killing whales. You know,
Well, in Hawaii, there's a big push by the people because they're going bad. You can't recycle windmills.
right?
They're non-recyclable. So they're being stacked, right? Um, Nowhere to put them, right? Nowhere to put them, right? There's different options out there to provide energy at this point. We're not ready to be completely sustained by the sun and the wind, right?
Right.
We're just not. We're not there yet. We need to get there at some point, but we're not there yet. We have other issues that are more important at this time, in my opinion. and we need to deal with that, right? We got homeless people, we got families that can't afford food, right?
Sure.
But yet we can give debit cards like New York is doing in
Oh,
California to people that are illegal immigrants, but we can't do that for our own, which it boggles my mind
oh,
that
right.
we can't help our own, right?
I mean,
We have
you and myself, we all, everybody has cell phones. The illegal immigrants that come across get a cell phone. They get bus trips. Man, that'd be great to go on a vacation. I got to fly to Tijuana and walk across the border and just say no, no, no English, and see if I can get a vacation.
you don't fit the profile, sorry.
I can try.
No, but you know, when you start thinking about things, and I know we got to help people everywhere, but I look at it in this respect. Like I take care of my family first, and then
Right.
whatever I have left over, I'll share with my neighbor, right? But my family comes first, and I think the government doesn't think that about us. They don't think we come first, right?
Oh, right.
When it comes to election time, yeah, they'll show up at parties and events, but other than that, they won't. They just won't do it.
Yeah.
One thing I do, and I said it yesterday on the Armenian interview. I ended up with this comment: you will see me or my staff if you elect me to state assembly. They will be in the district finding out what's important to you and what you need, and they're
Right.
going to relay that message to me. And if I don't deliver, then you can vote me out after 2 years.
Right.
But you will know, I will know exactly what you want, not what I think you want. I want you to tell me what it's important to you and what you need me to do for you. Because that's the job of an elected official, to do the bidding of their constituents, not their own.
Yeah. We don't. I don't see any of my elected officials out here, other than the sheriff, maybe, and you don't see Steny Hoyer out here. You don't see the state reps out here, and uh, you know now
Well,
we're
I think they lose touch. They lose touch with, and they might have had
good intentions when they
good
first
intentions in
ran.
the beginning, and
Right.
then they get caught up, and they're too tired when they get back home, or
They're
they
they're
need a
80
break.
years old. They're 80 years old, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know.
That's true. But we have some young ones. We got the Laura Friedmans of the world, who's running for Congress right now,
Okay,
um,
that's good.
who's a worthless human being, but um, that's who she is, right? I She was my assembly person, and I only saw her once when she had right before the election cycle started,
Right.
right? Coffee with your assembly person.
Uh,
The first 2 years, not a beep, not a bleep out of her, and now she comes around, right? And she's making the rounds, um, and she's one of those that supports Gascon. She's endorsing Gascon, um, so that already tells me everything I need to know about her.
yeah, Soros is funded her.
Yeah. So it's just crazy how things they might have good intentions, and I think part of it is that they surround themselves with the wrong people, right? They always try to find somebody. um I don't know, maybe somebody I want a normal mom and dad to be part of
Sure.
the staff,
Sure.
right?
Somebody
Somebody that gets it,
that
right?
has everyday problems like everybody else.
That gets what's happening and is not happy with what's happening, and wants to find out how to fix things. That's what I want.
Right.
That's who I want to be around, people like that. Tell me what's going on. Let me know what I can do to help, and tell me when I'm not doing something that you think I should be doing, right? Instead of blocking me on social media, or ignoring my comments, or like that kind of thing, because it gets overwhelming, and then people get discouraged. Um, and I'll give you a good example of politicians. Mr. Newsom, um, the governor of California, loves his Proposition One, right? Where if you read the title, it's fantastic, right? Um, but if you don't go past the title, you don't realize that he's taking money from Peter to pay Paul, right?
Right.
So he's taking money from other organizations and taking that money and giving it for homelessness, specifically with mental issues, which I get they need money, but we're stealing from one pot to give it to the other pot. So what happens to that group of people that you're neglecting now, right?
Right.
Are you going to tell me in November that we're going to have another proposition to raise fees or taxes to help that people that you took money from now, right?
Right. I see the same thing out here. Is these streets have potholes in them, and oh, we don't have enough money to help pay for the potholes to get done right now. We have a casino out here that's supposed to be giving so much of their winnings or their profits to the school boards. We don't know if that's happening. And all of a sudden you see, oh, gee, if you own a truck or an SUV and you look on the road and that's like 90% of the people, we're going to have to raise your $50 a year more for your tags so we can fix these roads. Well, what happened before? That little dock you wanted to build on the water and it cost you $1 million. Do that later.
Well, it's kind of like the California gas tax, right? They sold it as it's going to be for the roads so we can fix your roads, right?
Right.
That's how they sold it. Um, but the roads still aren't fixed. Nothing's potholes are still there. The freeways are still a mess. And
Yeah.
now in California, they're talking about, pay per mile, right?
Oh, that's nuts.
Right. So um, when I calculated mine when it came out, it was going to cost me anywhere from $12,000 to $14,000 more a year, right?
Yeah. That's
Because I
nuts.
drive a lot, right? I'm on the road a lot, so I'm going to pay about 12 grand minimum more a year. Um, are they going to make me pay monthly, or yearly, or they're going to take it from my taxes?
And
Who
look
knows
at
how they're going to do it?
and look at the truckers for the supply chain.
Yeah,
Boom. There goes your prices up again.
they just don't get it. I mean, they get it. They just don't care. Really, that's what it is. They just don't care. We have a. They hope the people just say, "Oh well, it is what it is," right, and give up. Kind of like not voting. Why
Yeah.
should I vote? You know, I'm just one person not voting, but there's a lot more people thinking that same thing, and you get 100 people not voting, just like the mayor of Glendale. He lost the election by 100 votes, right?
If he had
Mike
had
Mike
101
Garcia,
more.
Mike Garcia won by 335 votes last election. So
Huh.
that's not a lot of votes considering the population in these cities, right? Like my district has over registered people. We have over 200 and I think 245,000 registered voters, something like that. Right?
Wow.
Population of close to 400,000, but 200,000 some are registered people, right? For him, Santa Clarita area, he's got about the same amount of people that I do. For him to win by 335 votes, that's close, right? That's a close race.
Yeah. But you got half the people that didn't vote.
And that's the challenge to people is when they think that way, they're really hurting themselves, right? So yeah, I vote, but my person's going to lose. But you voted for your person, right? What if everybody else thinks like you? We don't know what other people think,
Right.
right? Just vote. Especially in California, since you can do mail-in ballots, there's really no excuse, right? You get the ballots a month before the election. Vote, for God's sake. Sit there for 5 minutes and do your little circles, put in the envelope, and give it to the mailman in the morning. You don't have to do anything else. Or you can drop it off at one of the boxes, or you can mail. I mean, whatever you want to do. Or you can just, they started voting, I think last week, where you can go to a ballot place and vote.
Right.
So there's no excuse for not to vote. There's just no excuse. Um, and we need to have more than 20% of the people voting. It can't be, we're letting 20% decide for 80%. That's what
Yeah.
I don't get. I don't want somebody else deciding for me what's good for me or not good for me, whether I win or lose. Right?
Yeah, and if you vote for Gascon and people still getting crime done and nobody prosecuting, you got nobody to blame but you because you didn't vote.
Well, and it's funny you bring him up because I just saw some numbers, right? And he's ahead in the polls, right?
Gascon is?
Yeah, Hatami looks like Hatami's second, and I don't know who the third person is. Oh, a former judge, Archuleta, she's in third, but 64% of the people still are unsure. 64% are
They better
unsure,
they better get off their ass and vote.
right? And you know, I am hoping and praying that this guy doesn't get elected again.
Oh hell no.
I'm hoping and praying he doesn't get
That would
elected,
be a one big difference for everybody.
because if he wins, he's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
Oh
And
yeah.
some of the people running against him work for him, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to have to find another job if he wins.
Oh yeah.
I think there's like 12 or 13 candidates running against him. Um,
Wow.
I know two of them personally, um, but I don't know the rest. But there's a lot of nonsense being spread. One thing that I'm really happy about is I haven't said anything negative about my opponents. I don't even talk about them by name.
Right.
I just focus on what's important to me, um, and listen to the people when I talk to them. Some are straight out tell me I'm not voting for you. We like you, but you're not a Democrat. Okay, well I get it. I
Oh
appreciate your
yeah.
honesty.
That
Right?
that's stuck up here because they're not listening to the message.
No, they're not. They're not. Um, what a lot of us, like there's some couple of people running for school board, former teachers, parents of kids go to public schools. Those are the people we need to elect. Right?
Right, sure.
I think people get caught up on Donald Trump. Um, the important elections are local, right?
Oh,
City
definitely.
council, supervisors, school boards, um, state assembly people, state senators, not the federal, so the state senators.
Oh yeah.
Those to me are more important than the federal side because those can affect change for me here now, right? Anybody that runs for Congress, they they're running for Congress. They're going to take care of the nation. I need people that are going to take care of us here at the local level.
Right.
And that's where people need to choose people, regardless of party, is who they are, what they're about, um, and ask them questions. And if their answer is, well, I, I'm going to follow my predecessor's plan. Well, if you're going to vote for somebody that is going to follow somebody else's plan, then that person shouldn't be elected. Period. Right?
They're trying to pass a gun law out here. If you have a handgun, you have to be insured for $300,000 if you own the gun and you carry concealed. And I'm sitting there just shaking my head, and I said, and that benefits the criminal who might attack you. How? Because he don't have none.
Right.
And then they say, oh, and yes, your magazines, which apparently they can regulate on the weapons. Oh, you can only have 10 bullets. I mean, 10 rounds in a magazine. Now I'm sitting there watching TV, and you see like 5 and 6 people jumping somebody, and I'm going, if they jump me, I want to take them all out.
Yeah.
So now you're
It,
limiting me again and freeing the criminal.
well, again, when it comes to the Second Amendment and gun laws, they keep placating to people, but people need to understand that if the criminal wants to buy a gun, he or she can find it.
Yep,
Plain and simple, right? If they want to buy drugs, they can find them,
they'll find them.
right? There's going to be people that are going to placate to these people. It'll cost them more, but they don't care because they're looking for the gun for a reason, right? They're going to steal, rob, they're going to do something.
Right.
So stop trying to make the people that own guns legally, that have them for protection. They're not robbing anybody. They're not shooting anybody.
Right?
If you want to, they talk a lot about all these mass shootings, but they don't talk about the mental issue these mass shooters have, right?
Exactly.
Like they don't bring that up. They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about mass shootings and the guns, but not the issue that these people have. Let's take care of these people with issues. That'll solve. I'm pretty sure that'll solve most of the problems with gun violence. You start taking care of people that have issues,
I
right?
mean, I've had a gun for about 40 years or so. And guess what? My gun has never got up and shot somebody. It's always the person that would have to do it.
It goes back to what you and I and Will always talk about, right? It just they want to keep us fighting. They want to keep us angry at each other so they can do whatever they want to do. That's
Yep.
really what it is. And
Yep.
if people didn't believe that, COVID should have been a big sign that that's what they wanted to do, right?
Yep.
Because I'll end with this: COVID, they divided family and friends because of this virus, right? If you didn't get vaccinated, you can't come to my house.
Now disease X is sitting there and they're going, oh, disease. When, it's not if you're going to get disease X, it's when you're going to get it. And of course, it's election time. So
Yeah,
now they're trying to scare you again.
and again, it's right in front of our faces, and yet we fail to see it, right? Kind of like everything else in life. Sometimes we're getting slapped and we don't realize what the problem is right there. But we got to resolve it. We got to take care of our kids. We got to take care of our neighbors. We got to take care of each other. Government should be very limited, very
Oh,
limited.
definitely.
Right? Should not be as big as it is now. Government should not be interfering in our personal lives and our personal choices.
Yep.
We need to do whatever we need to do for our families, whatever is right. If I want to go to a Christian church, then I should be able to go to a Christian church.
Right.
If I want to wear pink pants, that's my prerogative. I can wear pink pants.
As long as you're on a golf course.
That's right. Hey, and I always use the analogy of broccoli. I hate broccolis. Most people like broccoli. You're going to dislike me now? You're going to be triggered because I told you I don't like broccoli? Is that what we're getting at now? Is that the point we're getting to?
Right.
That whatever I say that you don't agree with, you're going to be triggered. And then you're going to be offended and you're going to call me names and you're going to post crap about me on social media, blah, blah, blah. So, I think I still believe that people are starting to wake up. Um, I hope they are in California because if we can get it right, it'll help the rest of the nation get it right.
That's right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I wanted to thank Jessica and Boo and Will for coming in.
Hello, everybody. And as you all know, before we go, I'm running for State Assembly District 44, which includes Burbank, Glendale, La Crescenta, Lakeview Terrace, Latuna Canyon, Sunland, Tahunga, Valley Village, some parts of Sherman Oaks, very north part of North Hollywood. Consider voting for me. Check out my website, Tony, the number 4, California.us. Thank you for joining us on the Tony Rodriguez Show on the Next Gen USA. Thank you, Mikey, for being here. Good night.
Not a problem.